Hi, folks. Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Money and Politics Now. I'm going to get the little advertisement out of the way here because I often forget to bring that up. It's been an interesting day, if not on Wall Street, it's been an interesting day in Washington. And as I touched on that a little bit ago, or yesterday, I should say, going back to covering a bit of politics when it impacts your pocketbook. And today, Senator Manchin, this is Senator Brasso of Wyoming. You may recall I had this yesterday. This was the 2,400 page bill that was going to be in the neighborhood of $4 trillion being spent out of Congress, is what the administration and the leadership on the Democratic side wanted to spend. That's not going to happen, apparently. It's not going to happen because earlier today, Senator Manchin of West Virginia, who's a Democrat, said he's really thinking he's not going to vote for anything that would be more than $1.5 trillion instead of the $4 trillion we just talked about. And so that's a big deal. And Senator Kristen Sinema from Arizona, also a Democrat in a normally Republican state. And by the way, West Virginia is also a very heavily Republican state. So both Senator Manchin and Kristen Sinema are going to be facing the voters who heavily vote Republican in most elections out there. So it looks like the Democrats are not going to have the votes for that. Now, that said, they're going to try to negotiate something else. I think we need a lot of infrastructure, but we need real infrastructure, and that would mean roads, bridges, broadband, things of that nature that are the traditional infrastructure. Infrastructure projects, by the way, folks, should be bondable. That means that you can go out and have a bond issue on them. You're not going to do that on a welfare type of program. That is not bondable. So that's one way to look at what is real infrastructure, if you want to use that term. The other thing that's important is today is September 30. September 30, if you didn't know, is the end of the federal government fiscal year. And so the new year starts tomorrow, the new federal year. The government does not have a budget passed, which is not uncommon in Congress. I mean, going back to when I was covering it during Bill Clinton's first term. There are actually a number of different bills which make up the federal budget, and they are passed independently. I won't get into it all. The point is they don't have a budget, okay? They don't have a budget, and so what they did pass, which is important for us today, is they passed a continuing resolution, and a continuing resolution means that we are going to maintain the spending of federal government on par to where it was in the year before. So for fiscal 2021, which is ending today, we are going to have a continuing resolution, also known as a CR, and that will fund the government through December the 3rd, which means your Social Security checks are going to go out. Everything will pretty much run as normal. Now, there have been times, in fact, there were times when the Republicans took control of the House under Bill Clinton back in the spring of '95, where we had political standoffs. It also happened under Barack Obama, where we shut the government down until they came to some terms to pass a funding bill. They put a Band-Aid, that's what a CR is. They put a Band-Aid on federal spending for now. They'll try to reach some kind of an accommodation. And I think in this case, because of the votes of Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, and of course the U.S. Senate tied 50 Republicans to 50 Democrats, the only way that the Democrats have control of the U.S. Senate is because of the vote of the vice president. I know most of you know this, but just for those who may not. So you have to go along with some of that. And in this case, the people that have to go along with the tie and losing the vote on the $4 trillion is Chuck Schumer, the president of the Senate right now, and Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. If you want to email me, here's the email. let me talk a little bit about Humble. Humble is putting out a beta version of their app that I haven't looked at yet. It came out last night. I was in the middle, along with Thomas, on Twitter Spaces, and so we were talking to Humble Nation on Twitter Spaces, where you're really just talking on your phone, so you don't see each other. But Thomas and I split the duties on there, talking and answering questions and listening to some of the comments of others, and that we were on for 3 hours last night, which is one of the reasons why I didn't have time to open up my email and download the app and start to play with it. Some of the others, while we were on Twitter Spaces last night, were putting the app through its paces, and they said this is really cool. The Humble app is really cool, and that they were sending money back and forth. Now, they were just, for experimental purposes, sending like $1 here and $1 there and that kind of thing. So that's some of the exciting news as far as Humble goes. Let me also bring up, let's see, that we are today, this is the last day, this is where InMode closed at 1:59:45. So let's just, for math simplicity's sake, you can see it's up a little bit in after hours. Let's just call it 160, shall we? Which means that it will be opening tomorrow at $80 a share, and you're going to have a 2-for-1 split. So if you got 100 shares, you're going to have 200. If you got 50 shares, you're going to have 100. Funny how that works, huh? So that's the deal on that. And then the one other thing, of course, is where did we end up with Humble? Well, Humble we went back and forth on all day long, and I swear I had that. Let me just do it again. I apologize. I thought I had Humble, which I normally do. There wasn't much going on today with the stock. Sorry, it didn't come up. HMBL. Sometimes the software just doesn't want to cooperate. All right, so here we are. Humble is 81 cents. We had a high of 84. We had a low of 79. So in a very narrow trading range, relatively low volume. Shares traded 2.4, 2.3 actually million shares, where the 10-day moving average is 4.6. I would just say that there wasn't much to move the stock at this point. But as we've talked before, I think we're going to be moving along. Now, as you know, I started the channel, and I've said this before, for beginners. And there's a lot of smart people out there, doctors, lawyers, and police officers, everyone, frankly, teachers. A lot of people have never been exposed to just the fundamentals of investing and the very basics. And so I had a member of Humble Nation reach out to me, a police officer from Indiana, and we talked and did an interview. He has a podcast for police officers that I also said I'd be happy to participate in at some point in the future. But I interviewed him, actually. We talked about investing for over an hour with several interruptions from his young 3-year-old Nick, cute little guy. But we had to stop because Nick was having a hard time with Daddy being tied up. But anyway, I separately am going to post on my Money and Politics Now the 18-minute version. And folks, a lot of you I know are sophisticated, and you probably won't, get out of there what someone else is. This is an interview. It's intended to be covering just the basics, because I don't want to leave people behind, and I don't want to be talking down to them, and I just want to go over some of these concepts so that they can be joining us. What the heck happened to my lighting here? Yeah, let me And so let me do this. I'm going to play a 3-minute or about a minute and a half clip here just to give you a flavor of the interview if you want to watch it. I may take other parts of what was at least an hour, but the full interview that I'll put up today, I think runs about 20 minutes, but this segment here I'll show you runs just about, an hour about a minute and a half. Your personal time is linear. You want to have wealth that is not linear, okay? That is not limited. If I said to you, Anthony, you are such an amazing guy. I can't find good people, but you're a hell of a guy. I'm going to pay you $1,000 an hour. And you go, wow, for $1,000 an hour, I'm not going to sleep. I'll work all day, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you, if you're making $1,000 an hour, can you make $30,000 in a day?
No,
you can't. And so this is the reason why right here, pay attention, folks, because no matter how much you make, and most of the time you go, boy, if I could just earn more, you're probably not going to get paid $1,000 an hour. And even if you were paid $1,000 an hour, you can't make $30,000 a day or $50,000 a day. Why? Because you're making money tied to your personal time, and your personal time is limited. You can't work 30 hours a day. If you're selling me your life in increments of an hour, which is how a lot of people get paid, you run out of inventory to sell. Right? No one ever told you that, but it makes perfect sense when you think about it. But if I accumulate 10 shares, 20 shares, 1,000 shares, 5,000 shares, when I bought Cisco System back in 1993, I bought 200 shares. I had just sold my business, like you said you sold yours. And I had some money to invest. I bought Cisco Systems, bought 200 shares. It did a 2-for-1 split. And then I had 400 shares. And then it split again, and I had 800 shares. And then it split and had 1,600, and then 3,200. Then it did a weird kind of 3-for-5 or something. So I'm going to just dump out of that right now. The full interview, again, will be posted on Money and Politics Now in the near future. So that's it, folks, for now. We're going to continue to try to help people come up to speed. We want the American public, we want everyone to not only be in the middle class, but to have financial security. I think that's with some simple, relatively economic lessons that we're never taught. We're never taught in schools, and that's a crime in my estimation, because we can really help a lot of people to get ahead and to be at least more, if not rich, financially secure. Again, you can write me at Money and Politics Now at Gmail. You can subscribe and comment on Money and Politics YouTube, youtube.com, Money and Politics Now. Obviously, you're watching that here. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me there. Just as today, when Joe Manchin said he wouldn't vote for something over $1.5 trillion, I went ahead and tweeted that out to Money and Politics Now, folks. And for now, we're going to move into Friday and see what happens in the government. At least we dodged a bullet for the moment, but I hope that you will continue to stay positive, and we'll be in touch. So until next time, thank you for watching. And again, that was a young police officer, I meant to say, who was I was talking to, Anthony in Indiana, and a good guy, a good young father, just the kind of guy we want to help, a good American. And so for now, I'll say goodbye, folks. Take care.